informations. And let me just turn on my camera for a short time. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome everybody. My name is Anne Jullenswert. I'm one of the international medical officers with the MSSO. And together with my colleagues, this is the function where we review your change requests and decide whether to add new terms to MedDRA, in which part of the hierarchy these terms are added, or whether we unfortunately need to tell you that we cannot add any new term which you requested. In addition, I'm part of the ICH M1 PTC working group, together with our Chief Medical Officer, Marina Dimov-Giusti. We are supporting the group from the MSSO side. I'm a physician. I'm based in Aachen in Germany. And with that, I think we can start with a What's New with MedDRA version 28.1 and the MSSO webinar. So let's focus on the slides. I will turn off my camera again. And as you know, we always provide some information about MedDRA and that it is owned by ICH, that the activities of the MedDRA Maintenance and Support Service Organization are overseen by an ICH MedDRA Steering Committee. This is a recent change. Before it was called MedDRA Management Committee. The MedDRA Steering Committee is composed of the same organizations as the MedDRA Management Committee, so the founding members of ICH, the industry and regulators from Europe, United States, Health Canada, and Japan, and the WHO as observers, as well as the MHRA since they left the European Union. With that change, further additional countries were added to the ICH MedDRA Steering Committee, and these organizations are elected for a 3-year period. At this moment, it is the NMPA, the Chinese regulator, the SFDA, the Saudi Arabian regulator, and the International Industry Association, IFPMA. So this presentation, as always, is protected by copyright, but with the exception of the MedDRA and the ICH logos, you may use it, reproduce it, or incorporate it into your work if you want to. If you adapt or modify anything, please make sure that you clearly label and state that these are your changes and that they are not endorsed by ICH. The second bullet I will read out. The presentation is provided as is without warranty of any kind. In no event shall the ICH or the authors of the original presentation be liable for any claim, damages, or other liability arising from the use of the presentation. And the third bullet talks about third-party content, and as we don't have that today, it's not applicable for our presentation. So what are we going to discuss today? We're going to give you a summary of changes which were implemented into the MedDRA version 28.1. We will highlight some additions. We will talk about proactive maintenance. We will talk about MedDRA translations. We have a small update on the points to consider documents. We give an update on MedDRA mapping initiatives. I got some information about technology tool updates, and I would like to highlight some of the upcoming events, and we conclude with a questions and answer session. So let's look at the changes to the MedDRA version 28.1, which will be released on 1st of September 2025. As you know, MedDRA is released twice a year, and we have a complex release and a simple release. With a simple release in September, there are only changes at the PT and LLT level, and there are no changes at the SOC, HLGT, or HLT level, so the upper levels of the MedDRA hierarchy. Changes to these levels are only implemented in the 0.0 version of MedDRA. For this release, we received a bit more than 1,400 change requests, which include SNQ requests, but which don't include the translation updates. Out of these approximately 1,400 change requests, we approved 1,032, We did not approve 367, and 13 requests were suspended. And suspension means that we want to take more time to evaluate the change. Sometimes we need to go back to you as a subscriber, or we need to discuss with other experts how to best implement that change. The changes which I will show reflect the differences between MedDRA version 28.0 and 28.1. And we always show this picture where you can see the net changes of terms in each SOC. It gives you a good overview and an idea of where MedDRA is changing a lot. And as with the previous releases, you can see that we had a lot of changes in the investigation SOC, as well as in SOC surgical and medical procedures, followed by congenital, familial, and genetic disorders. And then also usually we have quite a lot of changes in the neoplasm, benign, malignant, and unspecified SOC. And this is often due to the fact that, especially for the investigations and surgical and medical procedures, new advances in medicine are made, which also have their respective investigations, like new lab values, new imaging modalities, so that to follow the advances in medicine, we also need to update MedDRA. For the congenital, familial, and genetic disorders, I would suppose that it is because of some political changes to also focus more on rare diseases so that people send in these rare diseases. Okay, let's move on to the summary on changes in the standardized MedDRA queries. We did not add any new SMQs in version 28.1. That means that, as in the last version, but also for this version, there are 110 SMQ topics, also called level 1 SMQs. And as you know, some of these SMQs are hierarchical, meaning they contain sub-SMQs, and this increases the total number of SMQs to 230 individual SMQs. SMQs are maintained with each MedDRA release, which means once we add a new PT, the MSSO physicians assess whether this PT is applicable to any of the SMQs. As well, users sometimes submit change requests for the SMQs, asking us to either make a term inactive in an SMQ or to change the scope of the PT from broad to narrow, from narrow to broad. So 225 PT changes, which means additions or modification to existing terms, were performed in MedDRA 28.1. And this is across all the 230 individual SMQs. I would also like to highlight that if you have a need for a new SMQ, you can use the MSSO WebCR tool to submit a request. Submitting an SMQ request is a bit more complicated or asks for more information than a simple change request for a new term. You need to answer 5 questions. It would be beneficial if you have a search strategy which you can submit as a term list, and also the review and the decision to make a new SMQ includes more review cycles, other boards than just the IMO team, which I explained before. I would also like, as always, to highlight that we have the SMQ introductory guide, which provides detailed information on all SMQs and which should always be consulted prior to using an SMQ. And this introductory guide is also version controlled and is released with every new MedDRA version. So there is a new SMQ introductory guide for the version 28.1. So let's look at some additions which we wanted to highlight to you. And this edition of investigation terms for CAR T-cell therapies is one where we think we can nicely show that new advances in medicine also need new investigation terms. And CAR T-cell therapies use genetically modified T cells to target tumor cells. This is really very advanced therapies, and we don't want to go into the details. And we added a number of new investigation terms to describe the specific testing which needs to be done in research and monitoring these therapies. These tests help to check if the CAR T cells are expanding as expected, so they should expand in the bone marrow. They measure the number and the location of the modified cells. Some of these tests ensure that the genetic modifications are safe, and they are used to detect the risk of uncontrolled cell proliferation. And on the next slide, I have some of these LLTs, and we don't need to read them out, just for you to see that we added these really very advanced investigation terms. Okay, the other topic we wanted to highlight is that we added a lot of ophthalmological terms, and these made up more than 5% of term additions for version 28.1. They're not all located in the SOC eye disorders. They span a wide range of eye conditions, diagnostic techniques, as well as surgical procedures. And here we include a short summary of terms like conditions of the cornea and front of the eye, like the PT corneal epitheliopathy, or conditions of the posterior eye globe, like a complication after therapy, the LLT silicone particles in vitreous, or disorders of the optic nerve and retina, like the LLT posterior ischemic optic neuropathy. We added procedural terms like the LLT Descemet membrane endothelial keratoplasty, and then we also diagnostic tools and imaging techniques like the LLT scanning laser ophthalmoscopy. But it's quite interesting to see how much development is done in ophthalmology and how many new terms are needed from that area. Okay, before going to proactive maintenance, maybe this is a good time to ask Leander whether we have any questions.
Just had the one question, Anna, about the slides. I mentioned it before, but I'll say just in case anyone missed it, the slides, if you want to follow the presentation, are in the handout section of this platform, or you can get them from our website on the materials page. I hope that helps. But otherwise, no other questions. Thanks, Anna.
Okay, thank you, Leander. So proactive maintenance is a process which allows you as users to highlight inconsistencies or suggest corrections and improvements for not a single term, but for a broader issue which affects more than one term. So a bigger thing which we can look at proactively. And prior example included like the review of placement of abrasion terms, the placement of dental restoration terms, and then chemical burn grade terms, so first degree, which were added to MedDRA. For this version, we did not have any new proactivity proposals which were implemented. But if you have such a proposal, you don't need to go through the WebCR tool. You can send it to the MSSO help desk at mssohelp@meddra.org. And if you do that, please provide a detailed justification, which helps us in evaluating your request. And sometimes we also need to go back to you and discuss. And it's really helpful to have that justification. Okay, this is information if you found something you would like to highlight to us. Then I would like to go into the topic of MedDRA translations, and we're very happy to announce that we have now 27 MedDRA translations, and these include 3 new translations, Norwegian, Slovak, and Slovenian, and we expect that these can be implemented around the same time when we release the existing translations in the MedDRA version 28.1. We also have further translations under development: Bulgarian, Danish, Maltese, Romanian, and Uzbek. And Uzbek was recently added to the list of translations under development. And of course, MedDRA translations are important to us because we want to support users to be able to use MedDRA in the language which they feel most comfortable with. But translations are also a very huge workload. And adding a new translation is possible. It needs a good use case and discussion at higher levels. But as you can see with Uzbek, there are new translations added, and we're happy to be able to support, as I said, users to use MedDRA in their language. Then there is an update to the French translation. The MSSO identified that there is a French terminology reference, Terminologia Anatomica, or TA, which is endorsed by the French Medical Dictionary as the official reference. We consulted with the French-speaking regulatory authorities, and they agreed that this is the appropriate reference. And following that, the MSSO updated the existing French translation using this reference. And about 1,400 MedDRA terms will be renamed using the TA, the Terminologia Anatomica, and implemented in MedDRA version 28.1. If you're interested in this translation, have questions, I would like to highlight that we will have another What's New webinar, which is held in French at the end of September. So you might want to listen to that one. Then I would like to update you on a point for the points to consider documents, and that is that we have a new training video available. As you may remember, MedDRA Points to Consider companion document was released with a release 3.0 in September 2024. And in this release, we added a new section on manufacturing and quality system issues. This is an area where the MSSO does not have much expertise, and we were helped by a group of experts to set up and write this companion document section. And one of these experts volunteered to develop a training to help users better understand this new content in the companion document. The training was reviewed by the other ad hoc experts of the ICH M1PTC manufacturing group, and a video cast with a pre-recorded question and answer session was prepared. It provides guidance on coding specific to product manufacturing deviations and non-conformances, and it also gives practical coding examples related to the manufacturing quality system issues. And let me show you this video cast is available on the MedDRA.org website, and you go to the training button, and then under instructional videos, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, you can see that there is the coding, manufacturing, quality system issues with MedDRA, and available in English. Okay. Then you know that we have some MedDRA mappings to other terminologies, which are also regularly maintained. And there is one SNOMED CT mapping to MedDRA. It's a bidirectional mapping. And the latest release was published in April 2025. And it's always based on previous MedDRA versions, which are used for updating the mapping. So it's based on the MedDRA version 27.1, the September 2024 release, and the January 2025 release of SNOMED CT International Edition. And the changes in this release come as a result of either changes in SNOMED CT or MedDRA, which allow new or improved mappings. This mapping is updated annually, so the next release is expected for April 2026. Then we have a mapping from ICD-10 to MedDRA. It's a one-directional mapping, and that is because ICD-10 is not maintained anymore by the WHO. So the latest release was published on 24th of June 2025, and it's based on the WHO 2019 International Core version of ICD-10. and the MedDRA version 28.0, so the March 2025 release. This mapping is updated twice annually, so the next release is due in January 2026. Changes in this latest release included remapping of 11 ICD-10 terms to better matching MedDRA LLTs, and new mappings of 125 ICD-10 terms that were previously designated as out of scope or unmapped. And this mapping contains about 11,000 terms. If you are interested in these mappings, they can be downloaded from our MedDRA.org website. If you go to the download page, it needs a login. And once you've logged in, you can see the SNOMED CT to MedDRA mapping and bidirectional mapping and the ICD-10 to MedDRA mapping. Okay, then we are also working together with the International Medical Device Regulatory Forum, IMDRF, and create an IMDRF to MedDRA mapping. There is an update to Annex E, which is the clinical signs and symptoms or conditions, which is published on the IMDRF website on March 3rd, 2025, with updated mappings for terms in Annex E. Additionally, IMDRF and ICH extended the IMDRF mapping to map Annex A, which is medical device problems, to MedDRA. And here you can also see how and where you can download the mappings from the IMDRF website. Before we move on, any questions to mappings, proactivity requests, or the companion document?
We did have a question, Anne. On the MSSO website, there are no red line versions for the MedDRA points to consider companion document. Is it possible to add it so that changes can be easily identified?
This is something which I would need to check and discuss, but I will take note and ask this question to my colleagues and discuss it internally, whether we can do that. I can see your point that it's easier if you have a red line version. Okay.
Thank you. And then we have one more from somebody who's involved in the software development side of their job, and they're asking, are there possibilities to request new LLTs or PTs or changes in names which are not translational errors for software developers?
Whoa, this is a difficult question. Usually subscribers can ask for requests for change requests for the English version. I'm not sure about software developers. That is also something where I would need to go back. Sometimes subscribers have difficulties in asking for English change requests because you need a special password for that. And this is just for the usual subscribers that I know for sure. There's always one person in the organization, which you can find out in our self-service application, who that is, who has access to and can retrieve all the passwords, also the one for the English version change requests. I would also need to go back to ask about the software developer, whether they have the same rights or whether there is a difference then for other subscribers.
Thanks, Annie, and that's all the questions at this time. Thank you.
But Leander, you have an email address to go back to that question, or to the person who asked that question. Okay,
yes, I do. Yeah, perfect. I've got both their details, so we can follow up with them afterwards. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Then we have some information on information IT tech tools updates. And one which we would like to highlight is that the MedDRA desktop browser has been updated with a new interface to match the interface of the new web-based browser. And our intention with that new interface is to give it a simpler look, to optimize the interface for search and for display of search results, but we kept all the function of the legacy MedDRA desktop browser. So you can still do the hierarchy analysis and SMQ analysis. This new MedDRA desktop browser was released in July 2025, but we call it now legacy MedDRA desktop browser 4.1 will continue to be available. And this is the legacy MedDRA desktop browser, which is also looking very similar to the legacy web-based browser. You see here all the different functionalities, different versions, a lot of information on the page, and it was easy for experienced users to find the search button or the search field, but it was quite complicated for somebody looking at this for the first time to see, oh, where can I put my search words and where do I do the search? So that is why we wanted to make this user interface a bit more search oriented and less cluttered. So this is the new interface, and many of you might have seen it if you have tried the new web-based browser, because it looks very similar. Okay, and if you want to download these, either the new web desktop browser or the old desktop browser, you can do this from the MedDRA.org website. A login is required, and then you go to the how to use the tools, and then on the right-hand side, you have the download the desktop browsers, either from the MSSO or the JMO side. And if you log into it, you have the MedDRA desktop browser 5.0 or the 4.1 available. Then I would like to move on to our application programming interfaces or APIs. And these are small programs which are created by the MSSO and which are already used or tested by more than 600 organizations. These small programs can be incorporated into your own software code, and they interact with the MSSO tools, and you can automate some of the processes. And we are happy to announce that in 2025, so we expect early fourth quarter, that we will be able to share a new download API, which will download the MedDRA data files in either the .asc or the JSON format. And that is, if you've been involved in the download of these data files, it's the LLT.asc or the PT.asc. And this small software program can be incorporated into your database program and can help you download the data files automatically. The download files can be downloaded in all supported languages, and it also includes mappings as separate downloads. This API will be assessed as following the good practice quality standards. But we also want to highlight that for users who don't want or who cannot use APIs, of course, our zip files with the .asc data will continue to be produced and available on the MedDRA.org website. So if you're interested in APIs, where can I go and find information? So you go to the tools, to how to use on the MedDRA.org website, tools, you click on APIs, and a complete page related to APIs will open up for you, where you can find detailed information. Or you use this direct link, which is down here. If you have any questions, we are happy to take them. I will not be able to answer much of these. So either you ask them now, we take them and forward them to our technical colleagues, or you just directly go via our help desk and put the question in an email. Okay, then I would like to show you some of the upcoming events. We have the Latin America User Group meeting, which is an in-person event, which will be held on 2nd of September 2025 in Sao Paulo in Brazil. The meeting language will be Brazilian Portuguese, and registration for this event is closed. But if you wish, you may go to the MSSO events page and put your name to the waiting list, and you will be notified in case additional seats become available. Then we have a Korean MedDRA and combined WHO-Drug user group meeting. This is also an in-person event. The meeting will be on 13th of November 2025 in Seoul in South Korea. The meeting language will be Korean, and the registration portal is now open on the MSSO events page on the MedDRA website. Then I would like to highlight the Indian user group meeting, also an in-person event on 17th of February 2026 in Hyderabad, India. The meeting language will be English, and more details will be posted to the MSSO events page on the MedDRA website once they become available. Also, if you're interested in meeting the MSSO, there will be MedDRA booth exhibits at upcoming meetings, and there is a Connect International Conference from 22nd to 24th of September 2025 in Seoul, South Korea. And if you're visiting that conference, please come and say hello at our MedDRA booth. Then we will be at the International Society of Pharmacovigilance, the 2025 annual meeting. This meeting will be held from 24th to 27th of October in Cairo in Egypt. And the same applies if you're at that meeting and you would like to interact with us, please come by and say hello. And then in December, 4th to 6th of December, there is a Society of Clinical Data Management meeting in Hyderabad in India, where the MSSO will also have a booth and is happy to answer questions, provide guidance, or just to have a nice chat and understand how you are using MedDRA, what your challenges with MedDRA are. So please come by and say hello. And I think with this, I'm at the end of the presentation. So thanks a lot for your attention, and we open up for questions and answers.
Thanks, Anne. We had one in relation to the new web-based browser and whether or not the old one is still active, and are there any plans to discontinue it?
No, both are still active. I can show you shortly. So if you want to access they change it sometimes. If you want to access, this is the old web-based browser, which is still available on the top page of the MedDRA.org website. You can log into it. This is now not the training version, so it might look slightly different because it's the IMO version. There are no immediate plans to discontinue it in the future. We will, of course, switch completely to the new web-based browser, but there's not a clear date when we will discontinue the old one. Then if you want the new web-based browser, it's also in Tools. You can go to Browsers, but you can also directly open it from that first Tools page. So open the new web-based browser. It has this nice function that it always logs you on once you did it for the first time on that day. So this is the version which is available, and you see that the search text is very prominent in the middle of the page here. And my browser is already changed from the settings, so maybe I restore the default settings for you to see how it would look if you open it for the first time. Okay, I hope I answered that question. Leander, do we have any more questions?
Thank you for that. That was helpful, especially to have a demo. No, there's no other questions at this time. I'm currently monitoring them.
Okay, then maybe let's give it another minute or two to see whether somebody still has a question. Otherwise, I can show you our training offerings. You see here the class trainings, which are in-person trainings, but then also the webinars. And if this was too quick, the wrong language, there's several opportunities if you want to join one of the other What's New classes, or any other MedDRA training webinar or face-to-face class. You can all find them here. They are free of charge for MedDRA users. And as Leander told you, the webinars are recorded and you can also watch it again on YouTube if you missed something, you would like to go back to one of the things which was said.
Thanks,
Okay,
Annie. I appreciate you sharing that page because we've just had our October schedule of webinars released this morning. So you'll see on the page that Annie is showing, we now have our October webinars live if anyone wants to sign up to those. So thanks for showing that. And would you mind, while you're on the website, just showing where the training materials page is so people can see where they can also download the slides and
okay.
access the presentations. That's it. Training materials.
Now I click on it.
That's it. And then if you go to versioning, MedDRA versioning is where this one happens to be. And there you'll see English presentation, the top one. That's where also you can access slides. If you ever need to get access to any of our webinars, we have a section for each style. So in the coding ones, you'll find the coding basics and advanced. So I hope that's helpful too. Thank you.
Thanks, Leander, for highlighting that again. And it's always good to show what we offer, where you can find it. Okay, if you don't have any more questions,
I
maybe
just
check.
have one more, sorry, that's popped in. Do you
Perfect.
send a certificate of attendance? At this time, no, we don't send a certificate of attendance, but you can access our self-service application. Anna is just pointing to the quick access point on the top right-hand side of our website. You access our self-service application, you enter in the email that you registered for this webinar, and you will be able to retrieve all of your certificates that you've attended. But please don't try and do it today. It takes 2 business working days for the system to catch up once I've entered the details into it, and then you'll be able to access the certificate if you stayed for the whole of the presentation. Hope that helps. Thanks, Anne, and currently no other questions.
Okay, perfect. Then thanks a lot to you, Leander, for facilitating these meetings. Thanks to everybody who joined the meeting and paid attention. It's great to be able to have these meetings, to interact with you, and have a nice day and goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye, everyone.